Hello and welcome back to Westferry Times. I'm Emily, your host. Today, we're really going to dive into something special, the UK's music scene, past, present, and future. So whether you're a fan of the classics, maybe hooked on the latest sounds, or just curious, we've got something for you. And joining us is our expert guest, a music historian, former producer, and, well, just the person to talk to about UK music culture. Welcome.
It's great to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the UK's music story. It's constantly evolving, constantly shaping things globally. It's quite something.
It really is. So let's kick things off way back, thinking about popular music. When did the UK's influence really start to, make waves internationally?
Right. Well, you could go back centuries for influence, obviously, but for popular music hitting a global scale, the mid-20th century is really where it ignites. Post-war Britain, it became this incredibly fertile ground, a real cultural hotbed.
Good.
Think about skiffle first, the DIY spirit, just using whatever you had. It was like the spark, It really lit the fuse for rock and roll over here.
And that bounced back and forth across the Atlantic.
Exactly. A real feedback loop. And then boom, the British invasion in the 60s. Just enormous.
Yeah, the big names, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Who, still huge today. What was it about them? What made that sound so different, so powerful?
Well, it wasn't just copying American blues or rockabilly, though that was part of the mix. These bands, often from places like Liverpool, London, working-class roots, they brought a different feel, a certain maybe melodic sense, sometimes a bit more wit or irony in the lyrics.
Right, a different perspective.
Yeah, they took that raw American energy and kind of polished it with a UK sensibility.
Yeah.
And the attitude, that swagger, that
Yeah.
confidence. It wasn't just the music.
That image was key, too.
Totally. It changed how bands presented themselves worldwide. That confidence, that sort of cool rebellion.
And that rebellious streak seems to pop up again and again, doesn't it? Like with punk later on in the late 70s.
Oh, absolutely. Pucka was maybe rebellion in its rawest form.
Yeah.
You have bands like the Sex Pistols, the Clash. It wasn't subtle. It was loud, direct, very anti-establishment. A reaction to the times, socially, economically. But at the same time, something else really important was happening. The influence of Caribbean immigration.
Bringing in ska and reggae.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that wasn't just adding genres to the list. It fundamentally shifted the rhythms, the feel of British music, made it much more multicultural, a really vital injection.
It's amazing how those things weave together. So then we hit the 80s, and the sound changes completely again. Synths take over.
They really do. The UK was right at the cutting edge of synth pop. Suddenly you had these new tools, affordable synthesizers, drum machines, and artists like Depeche Mode, Eurythmics, Pet Shop Boys, they just ran with it, creating whole new sound worlds.
And image became even more important then, right? Music videos.
Definitely. Production, image, the visual aspect, that all became part of the package. The UK really helped define that modern electronic pop sound.
Okay, so fast forward to the 90s. We get Britpop. Guitars are back, big time. What was that about? A reaction?
I think so, partly. Maybe a reaction against American grunge dominating, or maybe the slickness of some 80s stuff. There was this desire to reclaim a sort of British identity in the music.
Right.
Bands like Oasis, Blur, Pulp, they tapped into something very specific. Lyrics about everyday British life, observational, witty sometimes.
Working class poetry, football,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly. That cheeky charm, It felt very rooted here.
But while Britpop was on the radio, there was other stuff happening too, more underground.
Oh, loads. The 90s were incredibly fertile underground. You had UK garage, jungle, drum and bass, really exploding.
Where did that come from?
Pirate radio stations were crucial. Clubs, obviously.
Yeah.
And just the multicultural mix in cities like London, Bristol. These scenes were pushing boundaries sonically. Complex rhythms, super heavy bass lines, a real DIY feel.
And those sounds paved the way for later stuff.
Absolutely. They were the direct ancestors of things like grime and dubstep. That innovation was bubbling away.
It really is staggering how much music comes out of the UK.
It is. There's this constant churn, this energy. London alone, you could say, feels like it could fuel 10 music revolutions. It's nonstop.
So that brings us more or less up to date. What's the picture now? What does the UK scene sound like today?
Vibrant.
Yeah.
But maybe more fragmented than before. You've got so many different things happening. Grime and drill are huge in the urban scenes. Artists like Little Sims, Stormzy, David, they've got global reach now, but they're still talking about UK life.
Yeah, really powerful voices.
Definitely. Lyrically strong, sonically unique. reflecting contemporary life here.
And you can't ignore the tech side, like TikTok. That's changed everything, hasn't it?
Completely transformative. A track made in a bedroom could just, blow up worldwide overnight.
So the old gatekeepers, less powerful,
Much less control. It's easier for new artists to get heard, which is great. Lower barrier to entry.
but more competition.
Fiercer than ever. Standing out is incredibly hard.
How are the really big established names dealing with all this? People like Coldplay, Adele, Ed Sheeran.
Well, they seem to manage. They adapt, keep that global connection. But for many others, staying relevant is tough. There's just so much new music constantly appearing.
So live shows are still crucial for them.
Hugely important. That direct connection with fans, and obviously as a revenue stream too, it's vital for many established acts.
What about indie music? Is that still thriving away from the mainstream?
Oh yeah, definitely. Cities like Manchester, Bristol, Glasgow, they have really strong, diverse indie scenes.
What kind of sounds?
All sorts.
Yeah.
You get bands doing shoegaze revival stuff, experimental DIY, jazz collectives.
Yeah.
Loads of creativity, real local passion.
Okay, let's talk challenges, though. It's not all easy, is it? What are the big problems facing musicians in the UK now?
Well, streaming royalties are a massive one. How the money gets divided, it often doesn't favor smaller artists at all. It's hard to make a living.
Right.
And then there's the whole post-Brexit situation. Touring in Europe is way more complicated now and expensive. That's hit a lot of artists hard.
Logistics and costs.
Yeah. And on top of that, the cost of living crisis just makes it tougher for anyone starting out to afford to focus on music full-time. Less disposable income for fans, too, for gigs and merch.
It does sound like a challenging climate. Are there any reasons to be hopeful? Any support systems?
There are, thankfully.
Yeah.
You've got brilliant organizations like the PRS Foundation, Youth Music. They do vital work, funding grassroots projects, supporting new talent. Local councils sometimes have initiatives, too.
And technology helps in some ways, too?
Yes, like we said, with TikTok, getting music heard.
Yeah.
But also creation itself. You can make really high-quality recordings now with pretty basic gear, laptops, software. It empowers artists.
Okay, what about AI? That feels like the next big disruptor. How's that playing out in music?
It's sparking a lot of conversation, that's for sure. AI is being used for mastering tracks, suggesting chord progressions, even helping write lyrics sometimes.
Really? Generating lyrics?
Yeah. And it throws up huge questions, doesn't it? About originality, ownership. What does artist even mean if AI is doing half the work?
It's a bit unsettling.
It can be. It's a powerful tool, no doubt.
Yeah.
But how it will ultimately shape creativity?
Mm-hmm.
We're still figuring that out. It's early days, but moving fast.
So looking into your crystal ball then, what does the future sound of Britain look like? What's next?
Well, if I knew that for sure. But I think increasingly genre fluid, more diverse, even more connected globally. We're already seeing amazing blends.
Yeah.
Afrobeat rhythms mixed with UK drill, South Asian sounds weaving into electronic music, Latin influences popping up.
Yeah, more fusion.
Definitely. More cross-pollination between cultures and styles. I wouldn't be shocked if the next truly massive global star from the UK comes from a background we haven't seen dominate before. Maybe someone discovered entirely online, maybe from a council estate with a totally fresh perspective.
That sounds exciting, actually. More voices, more stories.
Exactly. More access, more diversity. That's got to be good for the music. The key thing, I think, is for the UK scene to keep that curiosity, that edge, that willingness to experiment, the DIY spirit, if it keeps that.
The magic continues.
Yeah, I think the magic continues.
That's a fantastic note to end on. Thank you so much for walking us through all of that. It's been incredibly insightful. Really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Always good to talk music. Is a great chat.
And a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in to Westferry Times. We really hope you enjoyed this deep dive into UK music. If you did, maybe subscribe, share it, perhaps leave us a review. It all helps. We've got more explorations of culture and tech coming up soon. Until then, thank you for watching Westferry Times. And as always, keep the volume up.